Thank you to FreeMind for inviting us today and giving us the opportunity to give a snapshot of our company in 10 minutes, but most importantly, to talk about our recent success with non-dilutive funding, where we worked with FreeMind. I have to flash it. We're a publicly traded company. Brief overview of our pipeline. We have BioVie 201, a drug that is in clinical development for complications of cirrhosis, specifically ascites, or the fluid in the abdomen that develops at the end stage of the disease. We're currently preparing for phase 3. We've completed 2 phase 2s, and progress of this is partner dependent. We're actively seeking a partner. Our second drug is NE3107, or also called bezisterim. That's an anti-neuroinflammatory that's in development for Parkinson's disease. We're just in the startup phase for a second phase 2. We are also starting a phase 2 in long COVID, which is the subject of this presentation, and also planning a second phase 3 in Alzheimer's, and we're awaiting the development of our once daily formulation of the drug before we initiate that study. Just a snapshot of BioVie 201. It's a patent-protected liquid formulation of a vasopressor, terlipressin acetate, for continuous infusion. It's for the treatment of ascites and complications in liver cirrhosis. We have a method of use patent granted, proof of concept phase 2s completed. It's a de-risked program. From the standpoint, the terlipressin has been used ex-US for over 30 years. High unmet need reflected by having fast-track designation. We also have orphan designation, and as I mentioned before, we're planning a potentially single pivotal phase 3 that will be partner dependent. Bezisterim, NE3107, it's a derivative of a metabolite of DHEA. It's a first-in-class molecule. It has both anti-inflammatory and insulin-sensitizing properties. It's orally bioavailable. It's in a capsule. It can cross the blood-brain barrier. And in clinical studies, it has reduced inflammation and associated insulin resistance, improved motor control and morning-on symptoms in Parkinson's disease, improved cognition and function, lowered amyloid beta and p-tau levels, and improved brain imaging scans in patients with Alzheimer's, and also lowered DNA methylation levels. This is an epigenetic interest we have in the drug. So today I'm focusing on our current success in getting non-dilutive funding with bezisterim for long COVID. We have been awarded a $13.1 million award for a phase 2 study. This is from the Department of Defense, and it's from a program, the peer-reviewed medical research program. That's actually where patients get to advocate and lobby for something they want to be funded, or a particular study, through a congressionally directed medical research program, CDMRP, which I think you'll be hearing more of later. Last year's appropriation was $370 million. This funds high-risk, high-reward projects. And we responded specifically to a neuroscience topic, which we found out afterwards from patients that they actually lobbied for that topic, neuroinflammatory responses to emerging viral disease. And of course, neurocognitive deficits in patients post-COVID fits very well into this program. Which was particularly nice for this particular initiative is that long COVID, of course, was only emerging. Very little data was coming out, but in the 1 year between submitting your pre-app and obtaining funding, we knew there'd be a wealth of data coming out, and if you lock into an absolute study protocol and you write it and you get approval for it and everything, things may have changed. So we pursued this particular application, which allowed a 6-month planning phase. And this gives you $500,000 for 6 months to get your scientific advisors together, get up to speed, write your protocol, get your IND open, the green light from the FDA, and your IRB approval. And also you have to obtain approval approval from a human protection group within DoD called OHRO, and that's your gating for your second tranche of funding. So we had 500K awarded for the 6-month planning phase, and then you are awarded the majority, which was, I think, 12.7. So, as I said, it's a 1 year from pre-application to actually receiving the funds. We received the funds last May. You have, if you're, the pre-app is easy. But if you're accepted to submit a full application, there's a lot of work to be done, and you better be ready, I will say, because you have to obviously have estimates if you're doing a clinical trial and you're using a CRO, you have to have a full budget estimate and support for every item you're putting into that budget. Fortunately, we were ahead of the game because we had thought about applying to the Recover program in NIH for evaluating our drug previously. You will be hearing a lot more about this program, I think, later today. So what do I attribute funding success to? Obviously being responsive to the funding solicitation, relevance to the topic, relevance to military health. There was no question long COVID was affecting the military. There was multiple publications about it, and I don't think you could have been more responsive really than long COVID neurological consequences of an emerging viral pathogen. Advanced preparation, as I said, we were ahead of the game, but you don't let things sit. There's a lot of documents have to go into this application. A strong rationale. As you know, the pathophysiology underlying long COVID was only emerging, and as it turned out, in the year between applying and getting the award, the data that came out actually further supported our rationale. We also had, it was a clinical stage candidate. It had been in humans. There was no safety signals. It's an oral capsule. It could be administered easy. We had the supply. We didn't have some CMC issues or something to sort out. And also had a number of course, desirable attributes, but it wasn't immunosuppressive. Of course, expertise of our PI, who was involved in the development of the first treatment for ALS, was key. BioVie personnel and their experience in clinical development, and most importantly, scientific advisors in long COVID. So very briefly, I'm just going to, you're probably all aware what long COVID is, but the most common symptoms are neurological. In 2022, it was considered the third leading neurological condition in the US. CDC currently estimates about 17 million adults in the US are suffering from long COVID. And despite increased vaccination rates, milder variants, the rate is still there of 5% of adults, which is probably attributed to that repeat COVID infections increase your likelihood of developing long COVID. And as you know, there's no approved treatments, huge unmet need, very difficult to get. Oh, is time up? So I won't go into this too much detail, but the neuropathology of long COVID aligns with the mechanism of action of our drug. Bezisterim targets MAP kinases, ERK, that are in the TLR4 inflammatory signaling pathway. There's a wealth of information in preclinical models and clinical data, and we're planning a randomized controlled double-blind 12 study with 12-week treatment period, targeting 208 participants, 18 clinical sites. We have devised, with our experts, a bespoke cognitive battery to assess efficacy, and also looking at fatigue, exertional malaise, and a multitude of biomarkers of inflammation, neurodegeneration, and also biological clocks. So the current status is we are in startup. We're site selection, site activation, and we anticipate our top-line readout this quarter next year. Thank you.